Welcome to Excel 2010 Business Math video number 65. Hey, if you want to download this workbook, Excel 2010 Business Math Chapter 7, click on the link below the video. Hey, we're talking about cash discounts. Last video we talked about the ordinary method of calculating cash discounts. That was section 7.3 in the book. This is section 7.4. I'm going to talk about other methods of calculating cash discounts. Now, out there in the working world, there are just many methods for cash discounts. But again, we're going to look at the most common ones. In this video, we'll see end of the month, receipt of goods, and extra methods. All right, so here's another type of term you might see at the bottom of your invoice. 315 EOM. EOM stands for end of month. You also might see this, 3/15 procs, and they both mean the same thing. You get a 3% discount if you pay within 15 days after the end of the month. Now notice it doesn't say net on here. Anytime it doesn't say net 30 or net 45, it's assumed to be 20 days after the discount period or the final discount date. Here's our rule for end of the month. Situation 1. If the invoice date is before the 26th of the month, that means 24, 25, 24, 23 backwards to 1. Final discount date to take discount is 10th. Oops. That shouldn't say 10th. It should say 15th. Our example here says 15th, right? If it said E3/10 end of month, then it would be the 10th. So our example here, right? If it's before the 26th, the final date to take the discount is the 15th of next month. The invoice due date will be final date to take the discount plus 20. And it's 20 because the date and the net day is not given. Now, if the invoice is after the 25th, meaning 26, 27, 28, and if there's 29, 30, 31, if it's any of those days, get this. The final date to take the discount, it's not the 15th of next month. It's the 15th of 2 months ahead. And the theory is, right, you're so close to the next month that we'll just give you 2 months ahead. So now there are other types of situation you can run into, but this is the most common. The cutoff day is the 26th. All right, and then finally for this situation 2, invoice due date is, again, the same as up here. Final date to take the discount, that we just calculated that here, plus 20. All right, let's look at 2 examples. And wouldn't you believe it, there is a function specifically built for this situation, and it's called end of month. All right, so here's our invoice date, 10/22/2011. The terms are 3/15 end of month. So days past the end of the month, I put 15 there, right? End of month. Now, you may immediately think, oh, yeah, 10/31, right? And then go to next month and just add, so it would be November 15th, right? That's our due date. But if you want it to happen automatically, meaning no matter what date we throw into this cell, it'll figure out the final date to take the discount and the invoice due date, the end of month function is awesome. All right, you ready? Equals EO, and there it is, EO month. All it needs is a start date and number of months. So I'm going to say boop here and then comma. Now I have a little comment here. 1 means last month. So end of the month will always figure out the end of some month, right? And it doesn't matter. By the way, it knows leap year. It knows if it's February, January, whatever. So this is for last month. 0 is for this month. 1 means next month. That means please give me, if I put a 1 right here, it'll say please give me the end of the month next month. All right, so you ready? What do we want here? This, we always want, in this situation, a 0. Now think about this. This is our little rule. It's not 26 or greater, so we want the end of this month and then just add 15. 0 will give us the end of this current month. And there it is, Halloween, right? So now to get our final date to take the discount, we simply say, hey, that, the end of the month plus 15. And there it is, 11/15. Now, why do we do it that way? Again, if it's always end of the month, right, that number right there is 25 or less, we just say the 15th of next month, right? But the cool thing is I can put any date here. I could put today's date, and it automatically gives me when the final date to take the discount is. Now I'm going to Control Z on that. And then the invoice due date. Remember, our terms don't say net something, so we add 20 to that final date to take the discount. So there it is. Final date to take the discount and invoice due date. Now we have our final date to take the discount, and we're just going to assume that we paid within the discount date. We just wanted to see how to use that, the new terms here. So we did. So if the final date to take the discount is 11/15 and we pay on 11/10, then we do get the discount. So we do our complement method, round. Hey, that says name. What is the name error? That means you type some word into a formula that is either not a function name or isn't properly in quotes. So I better. So when you see round, that's good. It means, hey, you typed the wrong function name. Well, there's no roux either. Round. All right. Oh, OK. So that's the invoice. Then there's no shipping, right? So times, I can't do the 3% because that would give me the actual amount of the discount. So I do the complement rule. 1 minus that. And if I do 1 minus 3%, that's like 97 cents. I'm paying for every single dollar. Comma 2, close parentheses. 485. All right, now let's look at another example here. So now it's the 26. So we're gonna have a slight difference in how we made this calculation. So end of next month, right? 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, all of those date. When you see 3/15 end of month, it means 15 not next month, but 2 months ahead. So we're going to use the end of month. And the start date. And then I have to type what? Months. I can't say 0 because I really want 15 2 months ahead. So guess what? I type 1. And what does that give me? That gives me end of month, not of October, but of November. And so now I can simply add. I can take that November end of month. There's 30 days. And add 15. That's the final date to take the discount. 12/15. And finally, I add 20 to that. And that gives me the invoice due date. So let's assume that the final date to take the discount is 12/15. And we pay on 12/14. So of course, we're going to use our make our calculation. We'll do the complement method. Hey, that times the complement. And so 485. Now I got to show you a great trick. This is not going to be required on the test, but notice that if we change this to up here to the 8th, our formulas do not acknowledge that. So that really doesn't work, right? So I'm going to click Control Z. I want to make a slight amendment to this. Control Z. Right? Because the way we did that, we put a 0 there. That means it's always just going to assume that we paid before, the invoice date was before the 26th. And that's not quite what we want. So let's come down here and look at this situation here. Now, if there was a way with a formula to look at a date and give me the day, right, then we could see anything 25 or less. Yes, we're going to go to the end of this month and then add 15. If this was 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, then it means we need to not go to the end of this month, but the end of next month and add 15. So luckily, there's a function called day. And all day is it looks at the serial number date and tells you what day it is, 26, right? So now I could change this to 22. And that's all it does. The day function just takes this date and tells you what day it is. Oops, Control Z, the day of the month. Now, I want a formula that says, is this past the 25th? No problem. I can get a true-false formula. Equals, is this now past means what? Past the 25th means greater than or equal to 25. Oops, no, not equal to, because 25 means you still get we're getting the end of this month. If I ask, is this greater than 25? Well, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, and 31 will all give us true. Now, let's think about this. If we were to do the equals end of month function, we would need a start date and comma the months. Well, if this was 25, 24, 23, we need a 0 here. If this is anything greater than 25, meaning 26, 27, 28, we need a 1 there. OK, so it's always this formula is always going to need either 0 or 1. Well, let's learn something called Boolean math. If I see a true there, and let me change this and show you that there's only two possibilities, right? Now it's false. If I make it 5, false. As soon as I hit 6, true. 7, anything above, it's going to always say true. Well, there's something called Boolean math where false will be 0 and true will be 1. And here's what you do. We have to do some operation on the true to convert it. And this is total Excel strangeness. But I'm going to put a parenthesis around it. And in order to turn a true or false to a 1 or a 0, you have to do some math operation. And get this, here's what I'm doing. I'm going to put it in parentheses and add 0. Here's the cool thing about adding 0. The fact that we're doing a math operations will turn that true or false to either 0 or 1. And then I just add 0. That means it'll never change it. It'll always be 0 or 1. Is that totally strange? So now if I change this to a 2, 0. And that's exactly the proper input for end of month. All right, 5, it better show me 0. 6, it better show me, ding, 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 there's a 1. So anything above. All right, so you ready? Equals end of month, start date, comma that. And now we have a template that we've built here that will always give me the proper end of month. Notice it is the end of next month. Now we can go ahead and properly add our 15. Remember, we used a 15 all the way through this example, but it easily could be 310 end of month. Then that number would be 10, right? So there's our final date to take the discount. And then since we don't have a net something here, we just add 20. It's assumed to be 20. Now here's the magic of this whole setup here. If I change this to 5, boom, we have the correct dates. This is the final date to take the discount, and this is the final due date for the invoice. Change this back to 26. All right, so and there's some formulas right there. Now, that's called end of month. Let's go over to the sheet ROG, receipt of goods. Receipt of goods means in some situations where there's long shipping times, you don't really want to depend on the invoice date. So you use the date the goods are received. That's your starting point to count your 10 days to your discount date. All right, that's it. And here's our two formulas. Final date to take the discount date. Instead of invoice date, it's just date goods are received plus number of days we must pay early. And then the final date to take the discount, well, if it doesn't give you net, then we add 20. All right, so what's the final date to take the discount? Equals not invoice, receipt of goods. And then plus we're given 10 extra days. And then since we don't have a net blah, blah, we're just going to go and assume it's 20. Again, usually if you start doing business regularly with some other business, you'll know their terms, right? So they'll just write this, and then you know that it's 20. All right, that's the date the invoice is paid. So do we get a discount? 11/22. Absolutely not. Now, I'm not going to do a formula down here. I just wanted to show you that the receipt of good changes. The only difference between calculating our cash discounts before is that we use the receipt of good instead of invoice date. Well, in this case, of course, there would be no discount. Because here's the date the invoice was paid, right? All right, we have one last method. We're going to go to the sheet called X. And X, extra dating method. Extra dating, that just means you have to go on lots of dates instead of just, say, one. No, no, no. 210, and there's a dash that says extra 20, or 210 dash 20 EX or X or something like that, it means they're giving you 20 extra days. Now here's the deal. Why would they do that? Why? That seems totally silly, right? Why wouldn't they just put 2/30? Well, you know, their 210 is their normal terms that they give people, and they just want to emphasize that they're being nice for some situation. They're saying, hey, here's extra 20 extra days above our normal 10 days. All right, so if you see 210 extra 20, number of days we must pay early is what? 30. 10 plus 20. Actually, no, let's do it this way. There's 10. That's their standard terms. Extra days, 20. And then we simply add those. Alt equals. All right, the cash discount is going to be 2%. I've pre-formatted that. Final date to take the discount. So we go, here's our invoice date, plus 30. Oh, yeah, we like that. All right, so 12/23. Exactly 30 days into the future. And then the invoice due date. Well, in this situation, again, we don't see net 45 or net 30. So we simply add 20. So then the invoice due date becomes 1/12. All right, so if this is our date the invoice is paid, we have to compare these two. And I didn't set a place for a formula. I'm just looking over here. This is earlier than this, so I'm going to go ahead and calculate my discount. Oh, there's the invoice total times our 2%. Comma 2. This is the actual discount amount, right? 10. And so then our cash paid would be 500 minus the cash discount plus the shipping. Now, I kind of don't like the fact that I didn't have a formula here. Let's try something interesting here. Let's say get cash discount. Now, our formula would be what? We'd have to compare this date and this date. Here's the final date to take the discount. Here's the date we paid. So is this less than or equal to that? OK, so this less than or equal to that. True. Now, just 2 examples ago, end of month, if I go back over here, did we not do something tricky with a true and false? We saw that you could do an operation, and it converts to 0 or 1. Now, any operation, I'm sorry, right here, any operation. Watch this. If I was to equals this plus 0 again, right, I'd get a 1. But any operation at all that you do on true, false, those are called logical values. Any operation at all will turn them to a number. Now, let's just change this so that I get a false here. So 23, so I'm going to put like 25. That means false, right? 0, right? Control Z. Now, notice what's happening here. This is a calculation that gives us 10. But what do we want here if I change this? Let me change it to 25, right? What do I want to show there? 0. And I want it to be dynamic. Any date invoice paid I put up here, I just automatically want this to show the discount if we got the discount, and nothing, a 0, if it doesn't. So watch this. I'm going to change this back to Control Z. That calculation right there, that gives us true or false, or 1 or 0. What would happen if I multiplied this times 0? What's 10 times 0? 0. What's 10 times true or 1? 10. So that's the trick. Watch this. I'm going to write into this formula, type, if you want, it's exactly like that. That's the thing that's generating the true or false. Right? So I'm going to come here and go times, in parentheses, is our date the invoice paid less than or equal to our final date to take the discount. Now, let's just evaluate this and see what it is right now. F9. True. There's the operation. Remember I said any operation? So that true will be converted to 1 because it's happening, some math operation is happening. Now I'm going to Control Z and enter this. Let's try it. I'm going to highlight this and type 25. 0. This is called Boolean math. It means we're putting trues and falses into some math operation here. It's really that number times that percentage times 0, right? Let's prove it to ourselves. Let's do that great trick. Formulas, evaluate formula. Here we go. We can watch it. Either click evaluate or enter. So 500 times 0.2. That's 10. Times, and now it's got to go inside the parentheses, right? It looks at those two. It's going to do the comparative operator. It says false. And now it's going to evaluate that. 10 times false is 0. And then it rounds that. Now let's go ahead and change the data and do that same thing and watch what happens. Formula, evaluate formula. So we're looking here. I'm watching 10 times. And it's going to evaluate that logical formula that gives us true or false. True. And it's going to say true times 10. Well, it's really 10 times 1, 10. All right, so now that gets us around the problem that this wasn't working automatically. OK, that is the last video for cash discounts. We saw extra, receipt of goods, end of month, as of, and ordinary. We have one more video in Chapter 7. We'll see next video. We'll see how to what happens when we collect a partial payment from a customer. All right, see you next video.